All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm joined here today by Boxing 5 promoter Larry Wainstein. Larry, we're going to quickly do a recap of the tournament that took place on Saturday night, Reaching for the Stars. What's your initial assessment of the tournament?
The tournament results came out well, which people come to watch. A lot of fights. There were a lot more knockouts than normally on or stoppages on our bull, which is something that we're not used to. But there's a time where it's going to happen, and this was it, because we put out some of our top fighters, and these guys wanted to perform, and they went about their business the way they should, and that's what happened.
And just going to the top of the bull, I mean, you listed that you expected some of those knockouts to come, but obviously good quality with Siko and Sivanati right at the top.
Yes, no, there is. It was good quality, and obviously, we wanted to get them in before the end of the year to help with their ratings, and looking at fighters with decent records, which these guys had, and the Tanzanian boxers come to fight. And I mean, the past results worldwide have been amazing. They've done well. So that's why we picked, because they're strong, hard, nuggety fighters. And it's just that our guys were really, they had a point to prove, and they didn't wanted to get them out there as soon as possible.
I mean, the vision, as you said, is to maintain the ratings and obviously to keep them in there. Big year then next year, potentially, for both Sivanati and Siko.
Yeah, definitely. That's part of the plan. With Boxing 5 and with our partner in No Doubt Management, Colin, there's a lot of planning that has to be done for fighters. You don't just put on a tournament and just pick fighters and put them on. You've got to look and see where they're planning it, where they're going to, what's the roadmap for them to get their ratings up, to get them eliminators, or to get them title fights, and that's what it's about,
And just for reference, because we had the fight with Carnival City where Loratu fought the man from Thailand, and he won the fight. He needed to get a win, and look where he is landing a world title shot now as a result of that.
Well, that's the way it is planned, and that's one of the things, talking about this tournament, that we normally a lot more organized. And when I say organized, our bulls are put out a lot earlier, and we're ready to go, and people know when the tournament is and that. And this time, people were saying, what's happening, when is it? Because it was sort of getting out there that the guys are fighting, and then the bull was going to be Lorata, Sia, the special one, and Nkotoli and Frank Sotomela. I mean, that was, and then it was sort of held back because we were told, hold on, there's something in the pipeline. And then it came through a few days before the tournament, and rightly so, So sort of Collins made the announcement, it's out there, but we'll have an interview, you'll do the interview. But so we had to change it. Then we had to, and at one stage we were also waiting to make sure that we had Sia on the bull, because we had Siva on the bull, and he's not a Boxing 5 fighter, but we were dealing with this promoter, and they wanted to do him in East London, and they wanted the fight and that, but we then also were holding back because Colin was negotiating to get him on, because he needed to fight, because there's been talk of him fighting and it's never materialized. So that was another one. So you can imagine it was all this issues about fighting, not fighting, who's on the bull, who's not on the bull. And eventually we got it sewn up and put out the bull, and it was only 2.5 weeks before the actual tournament, which is not what we do. And it's hard. It's hard on the people that put the tournament together and on the promoter.
I understand as well from a promotional point of view that it was really late announcement, but I'm sure the boxers would have known well ahead of time that they were going to be on the bull and they were preparing for the fights.
The boxers knew well because they go to camp 6 weeks before. They all knew who was fighting, including the ones who didn't fight. Yeah. They all knew, and they knew, even though they were training because they thought they would fight. But they had to train. You couldn't then say, oh, well, you're fighting in 3 weeks' time, Yeah. So they were well aware of the timeline. So they weren't affected. It was just actually us holding back on the announcements.
Okay, I want to go to some of the standout fighters on the bill. The fights of the night got given to some fellow Frank Sotomela and his opponent. They put on 2 rounds, but Frank back to winning ways in a phenomenal stoppage. I mean, that's what he's known for.
Yes, he is, and I mean, he is the IBF Intercontinental Champion, and we put him on because obviously we're also planning in the new year. I think he's planning. Hopefully, he can challenge for the SA title, which is looking like a likely contender. I mean, the guy fought, if my facts are right, he went 12 rounds with the SA champion, and so Frank was also out to prove a point because he's been sort of held back, you know, and that's the plan. He wants to fight for the title, and hopefully we can put it on for him.
Yeah, that'll be a nice one as well. I think No Doubt Management now represents the current South African champion, but he's just got another belt now, so
yeah,
it's all going to unfold and unwind as it usually does.
Yeah, we leave that to Colin. He sorts that out.
And from your side as well, Sinakosi Malochwa, I know that must have been a tough pill to swallow, considering he had a good opponent in front of him who only has ever lost to the best in the division.
Yeah, so the issue with Sinakosi is we got to decide. I mean, you know, he had that jaw break and he was out and he came back and he started look like he was improving, and then we have to step him up. At what stage do you now find out if everything's okay? So we're going to have a chat to him and see what he wants to do. It was a good fight, I thought. The 2 of them gave as much as each one took, you know, so it wasn't, but I think he started at the end, he started to take a bit of punishment, and the right decision to throw in the towel. It had no benefit to keep him in there, and that's right. So, you know, he's a dedicated fighter, he's a hell of a nice guy, and we need to sit down and chat and see what he wants to do. You know, it's one of those things.
It was a curious position for him because should he have got through that test, you're probably looking at a title fight or something like that. So there was a lot on the line, a lot of pressure maybe from his side as well. But what do you envision? I mean, I know you're going to sit down with him and have a chat, but what do you envision next?
You know, he's such a good kid, and he works hard. Whatever he decides to do, something in boxing to not carry on fighting, you know, I'd like to say, from our point of view, I would like him to really consider going another route. I really think that break affected him, and to try and get that, because you could even see, you know, he's always it's there, even though he's still doing his best, it's still there, and it's a bit of a problem.
All right, yeah. Always in the back of the mind, there's that doubt, I suppose. That's as well. That's what's been mentioned there, and some other standout fighters on the bill. Amos Mpanda did really well. He got fighter of the night, which is also encouraging for him.
Yeah.
You like him a lot.
Yeah, that's something new we introduced up in Uppington, where we thought, you know, people do fight of the night, and which is the bout and the 2 boxers involved. And sometimes there's a fighter that shows you skills and really fights well. It stands out. And so we've now brought in the achievement belt to give the fight of the night, the fighter of the night, that belt. Not to take away from fight of the night, but it's just an incentive. You know, it's nice to incentivize the guys. And I just thought the 2 of them put up a good fight. The boy, the Zimbabwean boy, came with quite a bit of a reputation, and he had attitude and that, which is great. And what I liked about Amos, he didn't get overawed. He just went about his business, did it slowly, wore him down, and there was no, even though there was talk of he's going to knock this boy out, he wasn't doing it, wanting to knock him out. He boxed his combinations, his jab, his body punches, you know, it was all sort of calculated and timed well, and I rate him, and I really enjoyed the fight.
He goes to being a 5-0 prospect now, so in his southpaw, there's a lot of interesting things surrounding him, and I know that there was a lot of build-up around knockouts, mainly from the coach, Danny.
Yeah.
I think,
that's what boxing is about. It's all the talk and that, you know, you want to hype it and do, which is, I understand that. I'm not having a go at that, but I think like the way, because he has had a few knockouts.
Yeah.
But I like the way he goes about it. He doesn't get out there and start slinging from round one to see if he can knock. He just wears the guy down and works. His technique is unbelievable. And talking about that, when he joined us, he had only had 2 fights in 2 years. And since joining us, he's now in his 5th fight. And that's what we've done. We've taken him now, he's now a 6-round fighter. And hopefully we can do a couple more with him next year. And then he's into the 8-rounders, you know. So I think you'll be busy next year. And let's hope the improvement just carries on.
Yeah, he's been knocking on the door sort of for these fights, and this was a great example against a guy that was 2-0 with a big reputation. So he passed and checked all the boxes for you.
No, he did.
Going on to the other bull, Moses Kalengi, he goes 3-0, and you know, he put on a display another first-round stoppage. So there's a lot of potential that we're seeing on the undercard.
Yeah, yes, there is. All the youngsters coming through. You know, the nice thing about those youngsters, unfortunately, 1 or 2 of them had fights cancelled, or you know, they were on the bill and the fighters, there was a problem. Moses now is started with us and he's 3 fights. You know, his brothers had 2. Unfortunately, his fight was cancelled. The same as the other boys, which we'll talk about. But all the youngsters we were hoping for them to have had 3 fights in the year. And then next year you give them a fight early in the year, then they got 4. So then they're out of the 4-rounders. Yeah. So then when you got guys that are getting licenses, you now can take on 4-rounders because your bulls need the 4-rounders.
Yeah.
You know, they move up, that's what it's about. It's moving them up.
Yeah, I suppose if you can look at it as a calendar, like sort of, you can say like a financial year because of the way the licensing is set up in March. So you can say 4 fights from March to March. That's a good barometer.
Well, that's what we promised. We said you'll have 4 fights. From getting your license within a year, you'll fight 4 times. Yeah. And not too many guys who got licenses have fought 4 times.
And so it is a shame, but it's out of the control. You know, I just want to go back to Emmanuel Kalengu, who you mentioned. He fell off the bull, but it was literally on the day of the fights where the opponents just couldn't make it to the fight.
Yeah, he was sick. Yeah. And the doctor examined him, and he told me in the morning, Saturday, he said, I examined the boy, he seemed okay, let's check. And when he came, Stevens came to me and said, the boy's not well. And the doctor checked him again and said, sorry, you can't take a chance.
Before I get to Hamza Hassim, who opened the night, I skipped one person, Jason Meddy. Jason Meddy, obviously the big weight division. Azizi Mponda stopped him in the 2nd round. Phenomenal finish.
Jason has also come along. I think he's had the 3 or 2 on our bull. And he's also coming along nicely. Also has a big reputation, but he also is a good boxer, and he also doesn't just go in there and sling leather. He sort of gets it until he times it, and the big punches come within his framework of boxing technique, which is nice. Also think he's got a lot of potential. He came with a big reputation, but I think he's getting the right guidance from his manager and the guys at the gym. So let's see what's in store for him next year.
If I'm not mistaken, and I could be, correct me if I'm wrong or right, but you saw Jason in a sparring session and that really impressed you. And the first time I'm talking about when you put him firstly on the bull, and that's why he ended up coming on Boxing 5 Promotions.
Yeah, that was it. But prior to that, I was made aware of him when he was with his other trainer and coach, who said he's got this guy and he's great. And then they put him on a few fights and he didn't perform like they said he would. So that's why when he came then he started sparring, Colin and I looked at him and you know, we saw and we said, Colin and I decided, well, no doubt, must sign him up and let's give him a chance.
And so far, so good. 2 wins by way of knockouts on Boxing 5 Promotions. Yeah. Last one about the fighter, Hamza Hassim. He opened the night. I know I've gone from top to bottom. What would you make of his performance? I
think it was a very, very clean, good performance. You can see he's come on nicely. His boxing ability, I think he has it, and he will improve. And I was very pleased to see the way he went about it.
All right, and a recap of the evening, what would you score it out of 10?
I would say, because of all the knockouts and that, which is not something, you know, we like to put on, but if it happens, I would say it would have been probably about a 7 out of 10 compared to our other tournaments. You know, there were a few issues we had, which all promoters have issues, including us. We have, and it, from a whole host of things. And then, of course, I had the issue about my performance, which wasn't the best. At the end, I handing out a prize, and somebody, I heard him booing because I thought, it wasn't my decision. Other people make the decision, and I just lost it because of all the aggravation during the night. There was food issues. There was people getting in issues because the people weren't on time. And then the production, there was hold-ups, and so it was just a bad night at the office. So I would say 7 out of 10, not great.
I saw the comment section and they said, you're forgiven for having a moment. But I mean, the most important thing as well is obviously ending the year on a high. A lot of fighters got good wins, and looking forward to next year. We'll catch up, I think, one more time before the end of the year just to discuss maybe the 2026 calendar and what you got coming up.
Yeah, we will. As you know, we normally sit down. Obviously, something that I just, I know it's not public, but obviously within Boxing 5, one of our partners is having a problem with his personal problem with illness, not himself, but his family, and he's going through a lot. That's been a big issue, and he's just stuck his shoulder to the grindstone, and in all our prayers. And he's a great asset to boxing, not just to Boxing 5, and he's in our prayers and thoughts all the time. And he went about it, and she was missed at our tournaments because she's always there. And it's just one of those things, we've just got to pray and hope that she comes right.
Yeah, just wishing all the best on that as well. Obviously, that is a big hindrance and a big sore heart part of the team. But yeah, we'll
carry on. Yeah,
we carry on.
And, we have to. I just want to say thank you. Another good year we've had with yourself and everything. And we have our moments, ups and downs. I'm a bit of a loose cannon sometimes. It's just I want what's right and what's best for the guys and for our brand, and that's the why I've got the passion. And I always say, if you don't have the passion, then get out of it. Yeah. So at this stage, there's that decision. Have I lost the passion? You know what? If you can't take it in the kitchen with the hot, get out the kitchen.
100%. So as you said, teamwork makes the dream work.
As always.
100%. Thank you so much, Larry.
Thanks,
We'll catch
Aidan.
up again soon.